At the end of 2024, I noticed that a lot of our outbound campaigns were just no longer performing at the same level that they were. So I spent all of 2025 developing new ways to drive B2B sales opportunities. So if you're a coach or consultant and you're wondering why your outbound campaigns, your paid campaigns, they are not working anymore, that is because AI is driving the scene. And I am not talking about the content that is being put out. No, I'm talking about the signals that AI is now able to pick up and make sure that whether you're doing paid or whether you're doing outbound, that you are using AI to drive how people find you. More importantly, how you find them. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the AI signal advantage and why this is driving all of the targeting that we are using in all of our campaigns across the board for all of our clients, ourselves included. So you have to understand that the rules have been rewritten. For the last decade, marketing has been a game of just manual targeting. There has been a lot of years that I have poured into Meta, figuring out my exact ICP, figuring out who I should be targeting these ads towards. And then, of course, the same thing was happening on the outbound side. We spent a lot of time, and I told a lot of clients how important the list that you were putting together was. That has not changed. The list of who it is you're targeting on outbound has not changed, but how you put that list together has dramatically shifted. See, we used to just use old Sales Navigator to put together these lists. And now what I have seen over the last couple of years is that if you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn, and they're not in what we call a buying pocket, which I'm going to break down here in just a minute. But if they're not ready and they're not looking to buy your products or services, there is a visceral reaction that happens on the other side. They do not want to hear anything about, no matter how good your offer or your pitch is, it has dramatically changed. So really what we have now found is that this sounds gloom and doom. This sounds terrible. Well, then how the heck am I supposed to generate sales calls for myself? But it's actually a gold mine. We have seen a dramatic shift. We have seen a huge decrease in what it costs us to book a B2B sales appointment. And we have seen that we just don't even have to spend as much money on Meta ads to generate B2B deals. So the old chapter is over. So if you are doing the old spray and pray, where we used to be able to send 100 connection requests per day, that is done. We used to be able to play the numbers game. We used to be able to just throw up a whole bunch of profiles and reach out to a whole bunch of people, use a Sales Navigator filter, and boom, we'd be able to be booking, 3 to 5 appointments every single day. That is done. LinkedIn has truncated your ability to do a whole bunch of connection requests. In fact, the maximum is 40 connection requests per day. And that is really only on very well used profiles that have a ton of activity on the profile, a ton of activity on the platform. The other thing too is what I just mentioned is that we used to get super segmented. We used to create all these different ad sets and campaigns that were for this one very specific avatar who had all these different interests and likes, and this is the business that they work at, and this were the titles that they held. That is no more. We are now using completely open targeting, which I never thought that I would say, because I took a lot of pride in really figuring out where my ideal client was hanging out, what made them tick. Now, what makes them tick in the messaging, that is more important than ever. But how you target them is now coming in from the creative. It is not coming in from the list that you've put in to say, okay, Facebook, okay, Instagram, okay, Meta, go and find these people for me. Meta's going to find those people based on what you're saying inside the messaging and inside of the creative. So you have to understand that the old playbook has died. It is officially dead. If you are setting up campaigns this way instead of Meta, gone. If you are using just Sales Navigator to do outbound to gone. Now that we know that LinkedIn has limited the connection requests, now that Meta has lost a lot of their ability to do some of that targeting because of the privacy laws that came on board, and everyone just kind of went dark. Consultants who built their entire acquisitions models off of that, they woke up one day to find that the pipeline has dried up. So maybe you've noticed that outbound has stopped working. Maybe you're starting to recognize that broad targeting is winning. But what's really, really important, what we've noticed, is that over 90% of the B2B buyers who are coming in and purchasing our products and services and the products and services of our clients, they're doing a ton of research before they even accept the connection. If you manage to land the email in the inbox, you've managed to gain enough interest just to get a reply out of them, you can be guaranteed that they are going and doing some research before they go and hit reply, before they go and accept that connection. So do understand that you have to be engineering the sales environment. When somebody goes to Google and search you and they go to look at your profile, do you have the right breadcrumbs in place that can position you as the person who just might have the answer that they are looking for? And do understand that the pitch that works on a warm referral lead is not working on a cold audience. And so I do work with a lot of clients and a lot of businesses who have built these really great businesses. They've built up to, $500,000 in recurring annual revenue, but they've built that all purely based off of referrals. And what I see happen a lot is they take that same offer, that same messaging, and then they go and they take that over to a totally cold audience, and they're sitting there going, well, why isn't this working? Well, because what works on a referral lead is not what is going to work on a cold audience. So do understand that these are not isolated problems. These are all symptoms of the big shift that's happening. And now platforms are rewarding these AI signals. It's no longer about the manual targeting. So there's two very powerful AI engines that are at work that are doing this. So one is the big update in Meta, which is called Andromeda, however you want to say it, is a big change. And then LinkedIn came out with a whole new update called the 360 Brew. And so they are operating in very distinct ways where they're looking for the signals to keep you on the platform as long as possible. Okay. So Meta Andromeda, your ad creative is the signal. It's a sharp, it's specific message, and it lets Andromeda sift through tens of millions of candidates with a lot more thoughtful process behind it than previous systems before. And then if you looked at what happened on LinkedIn, well, they now look at what's happening on your profile. They now look at the content that you're posting, the comments and the engagement that you're doing, because it's no longer trying to push it out to everyone. They want to make sure that the relevancy is there. So these are the signals that both of these platforms are picking up in order to make sure that it's landing onto the right people. So this really is a crazy time where we can truly arbitrage the attention that is happening. So the first thing that we did was we started scraping the internet. So we started looking at places like Reddit, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and we're looking for intent signals. We are researching and finding out all the ways in which they are reviewing and engaging with content around the products and services that we sell and the products and services of what our clients sell. Because if somebody is engaging with that content, they're entering into a research, they're entering into a buying pocket. They are now looking to solve a certain problem. So chances are pretty good that they are well positioned to receive our outbound. That person's mind is going to be so much more open when I know that they were engaging on a product or service or a competitor or an influencer or a piece of content or on a podcast, specifically with what is the problem that I solve. So when I go to that person with my ability to solve that problem, I'm not triggering a fight or flight response. This is huge. This is so huge, because before we just had to rely on things like Sales Navigator to say, this is my geography, this is the title, this is the industry that they're in, this is how long they've been in the position, etc. And we would connect with them hoping by chance that that person is either ready to buy or receive my product, or me just to be even open enough to hear my pitch. And so that playbook is just, it's so dead. We are not here to say that you should not be using Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator still has its place. More importantly, it gives us the transparency to see who visits back to our profile. A great, great feature. And we will use it as backup data when there's no buying pocket data, no intent data available for us. But that's like not really happening these days, because we're scraping every 7 days. We're scraping all of these platforms. We're able to pull in some really great intent data. So I could care less about the 40 connection requests per day. I could care less about maximizing those out. Where I'm positioning all of my campaigns and all of my clients' campaigns are towards the people who are showing intent. And then when we look at intent-driven targeting, so when we target an executive who's commenting on these videos, who's asking questions, AI is able to capture it, and AI is able to score that lead for us. So this is all done automatically. We set up these campaigns for us, we set up these campaigns for our clients, and we throw in AI to be able to score the lead to tell us that, yes, this is a perfect ideal customer profile. Let's put them into a campaign and let's make sure that we get connected. And then, of course, we've layered on multi-channel systems. We are not just relying on a singular place in order to generate traffic for our offers. We're not just just using paid. We're not just using outbound. We're not just using organic content. We're using all of the platforms because people are going and they're doing that research. So it really took us from just guessing, just wondering if this person was in market, to really knowing and understanding. And especially now that a place like Meta, when we run an ad, it is now, the messaging is so dialed in throughout the various awareness stages. If you know anything about Eugene Schwartz, and we talk about being completely unaware that this would even be a thing, to all the way being completely most aware about your product, we can take them through the various stages, identifying all through creative. And when I say all through the creative, that is what the message says, how it makes them feel, how it shows off the outcome that you're able to drive. And so through that, when we get leads in, they're so dialed in, they're so ready to make a purchase with us because of what's happening with these AI signals, to the tune of our latest B2B campaigns are driving $35 per booked appointment, which is crazy. Like, it makes me feel like we've gone back in time, like it's 2008 all over again, and what's happening on how cheap it was to run ads on Meta. So when we applied this to one of our clients, we got $1 million deal done in 40 days because we picked up some signals of what was happening with an internal hiring with their CTOs, that usually when they're looking at various pieces of content, they're making these various hires, it starts to tell us that there might be a problem with the project. This client, they dealt within blockchain, and they come in, they fix up the code. And so when these signals happen, we can usually tell that something is amiss. There is a problem there. We must get in touch with these people. So when we set up campaigns that way, we can get very, very large deals done. Deals that typically before this client worked with us, they would have to go to in-person networking. They flew all over the world. They had never had execution done like this before on an outbound campaign because they thought that it just meant that you had to meet all these people in person. But when you put the right signals in place and you put the right messaging in place, this is what happens, is that we're able to get meetings costs all the way down to like $35 for a booked meeting. And we're able to get $1 million deals done within 40 days of launching. So over the next quarter two, I'm looking to take on 2 more partners, meaning I will run and I will set this up for you, and I will get these acquisitions built for you, and I will just take a piece of the revenue as it comes through. So it is a performance marketing, not based on a retainer. You will, of course, have to answer some questions for me. I want to make sure that you have an offer that I know how to scale, that I'd be confident that I could do that. Because when I take on these kind of risk, I want to make sure that this is going to be for a business that can actually utilize the systems that I know how to build. So that is you. I have left a link for you down below. Click on the link. You'll book a 15-minute call with me, and I'll be able to quickly determine if a next call would make sense. On the next call, we get much more into the strategy of things and how we'd actually put this together. But I want to meet you. I want to hear about your offer. Please do keep in mind that if you're anything below $25,000 per month, we're probably not ready to engage on something like this. But if you're above that, and if your past campaigns have not been working, or if you're just really wanting to break into that next level and you're really ready to scale, I want to set something up like this for you with these AI advantage signals. So book your call down below. We'll take it from there. If you're still in this video, make sure to like. Don't forget to hit subscribe. I put out new videos about these methodologies every single week. Thanks.